How's it going, everyone? I'm Dylan. This is my cousin Carlo. This is All You Can Board, and today we're doing a pretty fun video. We got this idea from the folks over at Board Game Barrage. I think they were the first ones we saw to do it. Maybe someone else did before them. I'm not sure. But this is restarting your board game collection if you only had $100 to do so. Now, the idea here is basically, you know, if we either lost all our games or we're just starting from scratch and had no board games that we owned whatsoever, how do we kick off our collection if we were given $100 to spend to do so? This is obviously $100 Canadian, which is surprisingly much more difficult than American prices because board games just cost more here. So your $100 goes doesn't go as far as it does Americans. So we each have our own list, and I think we each have our own approaches on how we got to those games and what we the parameters were, how we chose them. So I think we'll each kind of go over the parameters before we start. But I'll throw it to you first.
Sounds good. And just so you guys know, there's no shipping costs or taxes or anything included. And the way we picked our games and the prices is we went to boardgameoracle.com, picked Canada for our region, and then any game we were interested in, we just picked where it was cheap, listed at the cheapest price. So yeah, I'll just say for my criteria, what I did was there's so many of my favorite games of all time are available to play on Board Game Arena, and there's so many good games accessible on there that I tried as much as possible to leave out games that I can play elsewhere on Board Game Arena or on an app on my phone. So I definitely lean towards games that if I don't own it, I'm probably not going to be able to play it much otherwise.
Right, and whereas me, I didn't consider Board Game Arena at all, and so mine is as if you're playing games at the cabin and you have absolutely no internet connection. How would you start a board game collection? And yours is more like urban in the city, I guess. in the real world.
Yeah, so you gave yourself way more strict, harsher circumstances.
Without even realizing it.
If my collection went missing today and I had $100 and I was still living at home and everything was the same. So I'm going to kick it right off. I'm going to go from most expensive game to least expensive game. So the first one on my list is Modern Art. That comes in at $32.99. This is designed by Reiner Knizia, one of my favorite games of all time. When we did our top 50 games of all time back in December, I had it at number 3, I believe it was, and a lot of the other games that are in my top 5, top 10 are on Board Game Arena. This is one of the ones that's really high up on my list that I've played the least. I've only played Modern Art maybe, 7 or 8 times, and it's just as much as I kept thinking it's it's a decent amount of money, 32, it's a third of the cost, but I can't envision a world where I don't own Modern Art. I can't, if I just lost it, my collection went missing, you can't play it on Board Game Arena. It would not be the same playing on Tabletop Simulator.
You can't envision a world where you don't have Modern Art. Didn't you go many years without it being in your collection?
Yeah, but that's because I didn't know anything about it. But now that now that I have a taste of Modern Art, how could I possibly go without it, right? And it's just such an amazing game, and I feel there's so many more, I could play this hundreds of times probably. I can't go without it. So, and the fact that it's pretty affordable, $32, right? Plays up to 5 players, which is nice. Got a bit of flexibility there for going above 4. So yeah, it's just and it's a very interactive, very social game. I have a blast every time I play it, and I couldn't be without Modern Art.
Makes sense.
I won't get into the rules and how it plays. We've talked about it on the channel many times before, but it's one of the most pure auction games out there.
I knew this was going to be on your list. I would have bet money on it. I almost put it on mine, but I thought you're going to probably cover it enough, and I was having trouble squeezing it on. So yeah, great pick.
Cool. All right, next, another one from the good doctor himself, Blue Lagoon. This one comes in at $29.99, and so now we're up to a total of $62.98 from these 2 games. So yeah, basically $63 out of my 100 is on 2 Reiner Knizia games. Blue Lagoon falls in here because I wanted a tile laying game, and my highest ranked tile laying game ever is Carcassonne, but I've played it hundreds of times. You can play it on Board Game Arena anytime. There's apps, there's so many ways to play Carcassonne that I thought, what's another tile laying game? And I wanted one that has not where you're tiling on your own board and everyone compares their score at the end. I wanted that shared kind of fighty tile laying game, and this is the least expensive one. There's games out there like Tigris and Euphrates and all these big, more intense kind of fighty tile laying games, but for a $30 game that plays 2 to 4 players, plays in 45 minutes, you can play it with a variety of different levels of experience and gamers. I think the rules are 3-4 pages. It has area control and network building, or area majority, I should say. There's different scoring conditions. There's just so much to it, and I feel for the price point and any when I was thinking of what we talk about what is a board game versus a card game or whatever, this is the only one on my list, I'll say right now, that has an actual board, but it's also the cheapest game I could think of that still gives me that board game feel where there's a communal space we're all fighting over kind of thing. So yeah, that's how Blue Lagoon makes it into the list for me.
Nice, that's a good pick. That's another one I thought you might have, and I actually considered for mine as well. But I didn't think you were gonna. I thought you were gonna diversify a little bit and have only one Knizia game and have to narrow it down.
I know, and here's the thing, and I especially almost didn't have Blue Lagoon because I think it's a lot better with 3 or 4 players. Like it's still good with 2, but it doesn't shine with 2, and the fact that Modern Art doesn't even play with 2 players, it made it tough to pick. But again, it was the sweet spot of the price point with the kind of like how much game you get for it. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't pass it up.
Makes sense.
Felt like the right pick here.
Yep, solid.
Next up, number 3 is Arboretum. So this is $16.99, so that brings my running total up to $79.97. So Arboretum is a 2 to 4 player card game. I've talked about it on the channel before. You can go check out my video where I mentioned that I think it plays best with 4 players. This is just one of those games where like I wanted one of those kind of like games that's like basically just a deck of cards, but you feel like you could play it for the rest of your life with all kinds of different people. It's one of those games too where you could like, I could see myself just like having an Arboretum game night. Like not, you don't plan for it necessarily, but one of those games where once you play, people might say like, oh, let's play again. And I could see myself just playing it over and over.
An Arboretum game night, that's just the last time you game with those people because everyone just hates each other.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Real harsh stuff. And even though like I talked about it in the video where I talked about how Arboretum was, I thought it's best with 4. It like as a 2-player game, I'm not super fond of it because I do think it plays better with 3 or 4. But because I'll just say right now, I don't have 2-player games like Lost Cities or Battle Line on my list, which are 2-player games that I love. This would kind of fit that niche where it has a bit of the card counting, a bit of the back and forth, the hand management. Like, so even though I like those more as a 2-player game, the fact that I could get kind of that experience with having an awesome 3 or 4-player card game that's really, really mean. It has a bit of tableau building too. And it just, I've never played 2 games of Arboretum that feel the same. And it's just another one of those ones that there's nowhere online, there's no app to play it. And I couldn't possibly continue living without being able to play Arboretum. Like it just, sorry,
could not keep living without Arboretum in your collection.
Probably extreme, but like.
How did you? When we were waiting for it to be delivered, how did you survive? Like
I didn't. I didn't. No, but it's just one of those ones where, like, again, if it disappeared from my collection, like if my house burned down and it went missing and there was no copies of Arboretum to find, like I would just be devastated by not being able to play this game.
Everything else, like then it gets burned down. That was like
family photos. Okay.
So what do you want on this insurance claim? Well, top of the list for sure. There's this game called Arboretum. We should probably start in the essentials. It isn't essential.
Is that just cards with numbers and colors? Can't you just make it? Nope. You can't.
You shut your mouth.
Exactly. Yeah. Probably make like a print and play version of it or something. So maybe it's a silly pick, but I don't know. There's so like I talked about this. We talked about this game in our Discord too. People were asking about games that you could only play for the rest of your life, and like Arboretum is a game I could see myself playing when I'm like in my 70s, in my 80s, whatever. Like, anyways, love it. Next up, so this is gonna be the last kind of like full-sized game or bigger game on the list. That is the Crew Mission Deep Sea. So this is $13.99, which brings my total up to $93.96. Which you're probably thinking, oh, that's probably done. How can you come up with another game? So I'll just talk about the Crew Mission Deep Sea. I actually haven't played Mission Deep Sea yet. I've only played the Crew The Quest for Planet 9, which I absolutely love. But I know enough about the differences between the Quest for Planet 9 and Mission Deep Sea that if I was just starting over today, I would just go buy Mission Deep Sea. It scales a bit better for the player counts. There's more variety in the missions, etc., etc. Dylan has covered it in a video on our channel comparing the 2 games. And the fact that I just haven't, there are scenarios or missions or whatever, and I haven't played Mission Deep Sea yet, so there's just more like for me to discover there too. But it covers like I would then have one cooperative game because I haven't picked any others. There's the limited communication aspect, and even though this one's on Board Game Arena, this of any other, like we're talking other games that are also on Board Game Arena that I could have picked, Board Game Arena has a more similar, like you still get the feel of the game, whereas for me playing the Crew like with strangers on Board Game Arena is not going to give me the same experience as sitting around a table where you debrief with people after the round and go, why didn't you play that? Or how come when you put that like communication token, what were you trying to tell me with that card or whatever, right? Like, I think that's the one where like, even though it's on Board Game Arena, I feel like I need to own a copy of it. And similar to Arboretum, maybe even more than Arboretum, is I could see game nights being just the Crew. Like you just play the Crew over and over and over again, can play it with different groups. I think there's a lot of longevity and just like the bang for your buck is like there aren't a lot of games that give you that much bang for your buck for like a small box game for $14. So. Yeah,
and Mission Deep Sea is the two. If you're going to start a collection, that's the one I would start with at this point too, because more longevity, more variety out of it. Even though there's less missions, I think what you get with all the the way those mission mission cards, whatever they're called.
Yeah, the objectives or whatever. Yeah,
they're way better in Mission Deep Sea. So yeah, good pick going with that one. I need to guess. I want to make a guess on what your last little thing is before you actually do it. Is it sleeves for Arboretum?
Oh my god. It's funny you mention that because until it's something else, but before that I was thinking sleeves for Arboretum. Yeah. That's exactly what it was going to be, sleeves for Arboretum and the crew, because if I'm going to keep these games forever.
Right.
But then I was like, oh, I should try to find a game. So I started thinking, I looked at my list when I had those 4 games and I thought, what's the biggest, like, you know, with a list like this, you can't cover all your bases, but what's the one thing that's kind of lacking? And I thought, 2 players. Like, yes, I can play Arboretum with 2 players. Yes, I can play Blue Lagoon with 2 players. Technically, the crew plays with 2 players, but none of those games are best at 2. Mm-hmm. So I started digging, and Keyforge Age of Ascension, for quite some time now, has had blowout sales for their decks. Normally, a Keyforge deck is like 10 or 12 bucks. Currently, a Keyforge Age of Ascension deck is $2.98.
Wow.
But getting one deck on its own wouldn't be, like, you can't play a Keyforge as a solo game. But if I got 2 Keyforge Age of Ascension decks, that's $5.96. Me and the opponent could actually swap decks, so it's like we have 2 decks each, kind of sort of thing. So that brings my running total up to $99.92.
Wow.
Leaving only 8 cents on the table. So I really get my money's worth here. Plus, I get an awesome 2-player game, Keyforge here. Obviously, the one potential drawback is if you get 2 random decks and one's way better than the other, there could be. But then you just play with chains. One person start with chains. You draw fewer cards, right? There's a way to balance it out, kind of thing. But yeah, I was really lacking. Like, it was tough to leave games like Battle Line, Lost Cities, all kinds of games like this off my list. Even Carcassonne, which I love as a 2-player game. And this was like the perfect thing where I just needed something that was just a few dollars to fill that 2-player niche. And, you know, might get old after a while playing with the same 2 decks over and over, but I think it still works.
Yeah, that's solid. I'm surprised I wouldn't even have thought to do the Keyforge decks, but that's a solid plan.
And when I got up to 93, whatever it was at first, I almost reworked my list and took a game off so I could fit in a different game and get closer to that $100 mark. But
nice.
So yeah, again, just to recap real quick, that is Modern Art, Blue Lagoon, Arboretum, the Crew Mission Deep Sea, and then 2 very on-sale Keyforge decks from Age of Ascension.
Nice. Okay, solid picks.
Sorry. The games that almost made my list, Galaxy Trucker was really close because especially the new edition is very inexpensive. It's like $27. I mentioned Battle Line already. Sprawlopolis I almost picked because it's like a $14 game. Ideal Travel game and solo game. I don't have any solo games on my list. Biblios was a close one too, but I have a feeling someone I know might have it, so I might not need it.
It is not on my list.
Okay, good to know. And then a bunch of my favorites are on Board Game Arena: Agricola, Race for the Galaxy, Carcassonne. I'm so lucky those 3 games are on. Innovation's another one I would have picked. Coloretto, I almost picked For Sale, the Travel Edition, but I can play these all on Board Game Arena. So.
Okay, so what's interesting here is I was so worried that we were going to have a bunch of crossovers because of like. And even crossovers potentially with one of us or both of us with Board Game Barrage's picks and stuff because of things like Biblios and Arboretum. So I tried from the very get-go. I was like, I want to be happy with my picks. I want there to be reasons why I'm picking it, but I want to try to think a little bit outside the box in what I'm picking and to like just make sure I'm differing to give people different options here. So you might be surprised with some of mine, but I would absolutely start a collection with these and be super pumped about this collection and have good reasons for them. So I'm going to start with the most expensive game on my list, and this one is $50.39, so it's half my budget right off the get-go. And
I think I know what it is because I had it on my maybe list before too.
Maybe.
I know it starts with a W, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I know exactly which game it is. Yeah.
So it's Winter Kingdom. And that's because I almost put Kingdom Builder, but again, I'm trying to think like maybe I'm going to stick with just these games in my collection for a while and not expand it. And Winter Kingdom has much more longevity there because it has more variety, and even after like the limited play I have of it, it has the essence of what I love of Kingdom Builder, but just more. It's like as if I was able to get Kingdom Builder with expansions, right? Like, so
not only does it have a lot more just in the rule set, but we haven't played it anywhere near as much. Like, there's so much to explore still.
Exactly. So because of how much I enjoy Kingdom Builder and how much longevity that has gotten, and I'm willing to always play it, I know Winter Kingdom is one I'll have that kind of same feeling with, and it would be a great one to start a collection with because if you only have limited games, one of the problems the Kingdom Builder can have that we've talked about is that if I play it a lot and you've never played it and come in, it's hard for you to be like, compete, right?
The skill difference.
Yeah, if I have a very limited collection, when I have game nights, and we're playing my games, we're going to be playing, if I only have one big game and it's Winter Kingdom, that's going to be the one we gravitate towards. Maybe everyone's a little bit more on equal footing. So it's just, Kingdom Builder is great. Winter Kingdom is sort of, I was willing to spend the extra to get something that's going to last longer, especially if I'm only going to have 4 games in my collection to start. Yeah. So that was the reason to be at Winter Kingdom. So I thought that was going to be a bit more of a surprising pick compared to some of the bigger games. But if I would have went with Feast for Odin, that was my entire budget. It would have been like Feast for Odin is my collection, right?
Yeah. That the awesome pick. Honestly, it was one that it didn't quite make my shortlist because I crossed it off early only because of the price. Yeah. I looked at it and I was like, if I take Winter Kingdom, there were too many others I'd have to leave off. But in terms of games that like have a lot to explore, like amazing pick.
Okay, sweet.
I'm a little bit jealous of that one. I'll just play your copy.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the benefit of us both doing this. Is technically we spent $200.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so my second pick was $18.89, and this is twice as clever. So I was looking for a game that I could play solo and play with up to a large player count as well, which is covered in Twice as Clever. But also one, I guess my assumption here was, what if I don't have the app? Again, I'm the one at the cabin.
I was about to grill you and say, what about the app? It's free, you already have it.
I'm the one at the cabin with no phones and no reception and nothing. Right. But also, like, it's a game that, you know, I wouldn't play the app version with like 2, 3, or 4 players,
no,
right?
Of course
so,
not, yeah.
So it functions as a game that I can sit down by myself. I'm looking for something to do and play a game when I'm living off the grid with no television and video games and electronics. This is something I can play. And also, it's just such a fun game to play with other people. I almost went with That's Pretty Clever, but me personally, that's when I've played more, so I'll have more to explore in Twice as Clever than I would in That's Pretty Clever.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Clever Cube then, because it's the one we've played the least.
Well, it is the one I played the least. Well, I played the app a bunch of times for Clever Cubed.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
but Clever Cubed is one that I haven't decided if I even like it as much as Twice as Clever. Like,
fair enough.
I have to play both those more to know for sure. This was a bit of a safer pick that way. But I love roll and writes. I love games that offer variety between like solo play and, you know, multiple players and are good at every player count. Yeah. And I think this is one of those games. So this is one that'll be easy for me to teach to people. I'll play on my own. It'll never be one where I'm like, I have 4 games and one of them just never hits the table.
Right.
So yeah. So that's
a good pick.
Twice as Clever.
What's your running total, or are you not keeping track?
My running total is $69 basically, 69 something.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Okay. Then I have, so for $16.99, I have Enchanted Plumes, and that's because one, Enchanted Plumes plays up to 6. So I have a game that now hits higher player count. So if people come over and I have 6 people there, I don't have to say I don't have any games that we can play, which is something that was important to me to have one. It's an easy one to teach. It plays well at 2 as well, so it has a nice variety. And it has that, again, because I was trying to go outside the box, there were other Knizia games, and I will say right now, I don't have a single Knizia game on this list. Wow. And again, that was like, I don't have any Uwe games on this list either. That was mostly intentional, because I was trying to be a little bit different with my picks. But Enchanted Plumes it's the closest feeling of a game I have to a Knizia game, I think, in that small package without being a Knizia game.
We talked about how reminiscent it was of Lost Cities and some games like that. Yeah.
So rather than pick Lost Cities, which again I played so much that anyone who plays with me that hasn't already played it is going to feel like they're behind, and also it's only a 2-player game. I went with Enchanted Plumes that has that same feel, plays up to 6, and will scratch that same itch for me. It's a small box. If I only have 4 games, I likely don't have a huge Calyx shelf, so it's somewhere I can easily slide something on there.
And besides, Lost Cities can also is on Board Game Arena. I know you didn't plan for that, but just be thankful that you
have to remember, I live off the grid with no electricity and no running water, and just with people coming over to play board games for some reason. Right. So that was $16.99, which brings my total to, I guess, like 85-ish or 80. Basically, my end total comes out to $96.50 or something like that. So this
leaving just dollars on the table.
Well, hang on, I can buy some like drinks and chocolate bars for the group. I thought about the
well-being. For board games. It's $100 for it's a gift card for a board game store.
We'll play a game with the bottle caps or something like that. Okay. My last pick is. I was having trouble finding something that I wanted to slot in for a small amount, but I also wanted something on this list that I haven't personally played a bunch. I've only played, like, say, ones that don't own, that I could also have a game that I'm adding to my collection that I get to discover like more plays of. It's not just what other people I'm introducing to. And one game that I played only once and really, really enjoyed, and eventually want to own in my collection, is 5211. So it's only $10. I found it actually on sale for $10 because normally it's more expensive than that and it wouldn't have been able to fit on this list. But it's a game that I really, really enjoyed. Super easy to teach. It is just another kind of simple card game like Enchanted Plumes, but I feel like starting a collection with games that are accessible like that while I still have a large game like Winter Kingdom would still make sense. And it's a game that I would get to explore a whole bunch more because I've only played it the one time, really enjoyed it, won it anyways. Now I get to start with a game that's not in my collection. So like out of these games, Winter Kingdom and 5211 aren't in my collection, so it would be two games that I sort of get to, you know, have new games added to my collection, and both Enchanted Plumes and Twice as Clever are, but they're ones that I know I would come back to a lot. So that brings my full total to, it's like $96 and some cents, so I have like $3 and some to spare, but
buy a Keyforge deck.
It's true.
One single Age of
Ascension deck, just so I can like look at the cards, or maybe,
yeah, or maybe you'll get the sleeves,
or maybe I'll get something super rare, sell the deck, make like $30, and then use that to buy games, and then I can get modern art still. That's actually okay. Cancel it out. So what I do with this last little bit is I buy an Age of Ascension deck, I sell that for a profit, then I buy modern art, and then that's how I finish the list.
But how do you ensure that it's a valuable deck that will sell for more?
You don't have to worry about that. Let me worry about that. The ones that I actually at different points had on this list and ended up bumping around were Seven Wonders Duel. I tried really hard to get that on the list, but again, part of what ended up with me not putting it on was that it was only 2 players, and it's one that I personally played so much already. But it does have lots of longevity. It's one it was the last thing I eliminated off this list for something else. On Board Game Arena? Yes, on Board Game Arena. A lot of these actually are. Castle of Burgundy is another one I considered. Yeah. Kingdom Builder before I thought of Winter Kingdom. Patchwork, Knizia games in general. Santorini I thought of as well.
Santorini I thought of too. It's a little pricey because of the production value. It's almost $40. It's a big chunk of your $100 to put towards it. But
yeah, and then I had modern art as well. But nice. I thought you were going to have it on yours. Right. So yeah, I went a little bit more outside the box with mine, but you know, at least it gives you 2 different flavors. If you're someone who's watching this video because you specifically found $100 and you're like, I want to get into tabletop gaming, now you can pick one of our lists if you want. And I mean, I guess if you're in Canada, and go and buy all these games.
Yeah. I'm a little, looking just at both of our collections again here. I don't really have like the kind of big strategy game to like dig into over and over, like over time, like you have with Winter Kingdom. I think that's definitely a weakness in mine, as well as, again, there's no solo game in mine. Right. Or nothing that can even play solo at all. I also don't have any party games, and I think Modern Art and the Crew Mission Deep Sea go up to 5 players, but I don't have anything that goes above 5. And you definitely have Enchanted Plumes up to 6 at least, which is nice. I mean,
I have 2 games that are essentially just card games. So there's different holes in each of ours, and like you know, I have 2 card games that are rolling right, and then a strategy game. There's nothing really in between where you have sort of like the Blue Lagoon like middle level board games. So it's hard to encompass like everything you'd want to in an initial $100 collection. Yeah, you kind of have to have a gap. Like I also don't have like a worker placement game, which is something I would is a crime. I wouldn't have that in the starting.
Those are usually pretty expensive unless you're getting like a very intro level one.
Yeah, I thought about like.
Do you have a co-op game? I don't think so, right?
No co-op game.
Yeah, no co-op. Yeah, and no party game either. Yeah.
No. Yeah, there was other ones I considered as well that I didn't even write down for that. Like I thought about Clank as a deck builder as well, and stuff. I thought about I don't own Dominion, but do I get it just so I have a deck builder as well? But like,
I almost had the Quest for El Dorado, but I was like, honestly, I already had Modern Art and Blue Lagoon. I'm like, I'm not putting 3 Knizia games on here, and I couldn't leave one of those off in favor for it. But yeah. It's a really tough list to make.
Yeah, and those are our lists. Obviously, with a video like this, we are super interested how you guys would start a collection with $100. Obviously, use your own personal currency wherever you live. Yeah. Let us know in the comments for $100, and it's a hard $100. You can't go like $1 over. If you had a single $100 bill, unless you're a really good negotiator, you're gonna like negotiate with your local game store. But
then we're gonna need proof of that.
Yes, exactly. We need it in writing. Say like in writing, send us a letter that says, yes, I will allow this person to float $1 until they earn it or something. Wow. Let us know in the comments how you would restart your collection with $100. What you think about the picks we made, if there's any like clear gaps, how mad you are at me for not including a Knizia game, if how much shame I have to face for that. I know. I
very much,
just put the Game of Thrones shame clip in here right now.
Absolutely. Shame.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, let us know also if you like videos like this that are more a little bit like relaxed and just like kind of fun topics like this. Obviously, we enjoy making them, but we want to make sure you guys enjoy watching them. Anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.